This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners share their wisdom. It's short, to the point, to respect people's time, and because we know transforming possibility happens fast, it leads to lasting results. So let's get to it. Question number one. Jason, in a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
So my name is Jason Cutter, and I am a sales success consultant. I run a consulting company. I'm an author. I have a podcast, and I have evolved through my time here in life to help people transform sales-wise, also optimize their sales teams and businesses, having gone through a lot of that in organizations. And I'm all about just helping people sell more effectively.
Who wouldn't love that? And you're already getting to like transformation and evolving and sales, like you're already dropping value. So that's awesome. Question number two. Jason, what's the best thing about being in business?
You know, what I really love about being in business is being able to help people in various ways and being able to control that output and that product. So if I want to help this client with this or this individual with coaching over here, like I can do that. And then I can, going back to that evolve thing, I can pivot, which is the word of the year, but I can, adjust and, help people in whatever way makes the most sense and in control of that process on my side.
I love it. That's control and the freedom. And I love it. That pivot, he threw pivot in there too. That's great. Yeah. That's great stuff. Question number three. And I like to preface this by saying, even during this time, because in the digital space, the people in the digital space are just booming right now, as I'm sure you know. So question number three, we hear from other business owners, they're getting so much business, the chaos sometimes causes overwhelm. Tell me your thoughts on that, Jason.
I think there's always that rough balance between, the marketing and the prep and then getting the harvest, right? Getting so much business that you then have to deal with it. And you've got to balance it out. I always advise people to make sure they're looking at long-term, because usually what happens, you get busy on the doing, the client work, whatever that is that you do, that you're not planting seeds for the next harvest that you want down the road. And then it's this feast or famine. And then I think the biggest thing that I always advise people on is that self-awareness, which is, what are you good at? What do you do well? What can you get help with, either outsource or build a team? Where's your highest dollar value, let's say per hour, if you break it down like that? And then what can you have others do that, and not just from a profitability like revenue standpoint, but also from a they just do it better than you. There's things that I am amazing at, and there's things that I'm absolutely terrible at. And getting people to help in those realms, and then I can just stay in my sweet spot.
I am so delighted to hear you say that, Jason. And I love this conversation. The value that you're dropping in a short few sentences is just massive. Let's shift to question number four. What other successful business owners, like yourself, of course, Jason, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
I would say a few that come to mind would be Frank Agan. He runs, his company is called Spirit, which is an amazing networking, referral, business development organization. So that's great. Juliana Stan Campiano. I always struggle with her last name. She runs a company called Oxygen, and she's an amazing leader. She started out in the company and then ended up buying it. She's great. And then I would say Jamie Vumbach from Get the Referral. He's built a great business from the bottom up himself, and then is living that, about getting help from people.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Oxygen. What a cool name.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Let's get to some wisdom, Jason. What piece of wisdom or advice or value, as is said a lot all over the internet, would you share with other business owners?
I think the biggest thing, kind of leaping off what we were just talking about with the self-awareness and getting the help and what are your strengths and what are other people's strengths, I think one of the biggest things I run up against, especially from the sales side, is what I've seen is most business owners, most people who start a company, a founder, a CEO, anything in that realm, is they're generally they come from a background in one of several areas, which then makes them biased in that area within their company. So either they are a sales or selling type founder or CEO, they're a marketing kind of background, or a technical, right? Like they know how to make the websites. And so what happens is, as they build a team, the problem is they're usually biased one way or another, and they think everything else is secondary when all of it matters. And so you've got to figure out how to fill in. Like if I'm a salesperson, sales leader, then everything is important, and I've got to make sure to fill in those parts. So I think that's a big one for sure.
I love that. So the bias to thinking that that's everything else revolves around that thing, like the sun, right?
Yep. And in most organizations, in most organizations, that sales, right, is what the obvious one. But there's organizations where the technical side, the service side, is where the owner is biased towards, and everything else is kind of in the way of that or serves that. So, and it's just important to be aware.
That's great. That's a great conversation. So I know you have years of experience. What would you recommend somebody if they pause from this and they think, maybe I'm in that space? What would you recommend? What would you advise?
I think it's really about getting partnerships or whatever you can to fill in those other areas, and then trusting that. So a lot of times there's a founder or CEO at the top, and then everyone else there is there to serve them versus servant leadership. And if you know that you're biased one way, it's about, okay, so I know I'm a salesperson. I need to have a really strong counterpart that I trust and respect, who's going to shoot it straight to me and help me on the operational side or on the marketing side. And it's like, okay, if sales says the leads are bad, it's like, no, the leads aren't bad. Like, the leads are good, and here's why. And so more partnership, even with an org chart hierarchy of who's actually in charge, but more partnerships throughout the organization as a team, those organizations win so much better.
I love what you just said, and I can't bypass one of you, even if this goes a little bit long, like what you just said. So I have looked at, and my team is a servant leadership team. So we have a large team, over 50 members, but we're servant leadership. So the hierarchy is from the bottom up. And a lot of people don't know that. They've never heard that. They're not familiar with it, and they've never seen a culture like that. So what you just shared is super, super powerful. And I think you'll appreciate this. I looked for an org chart somewhere where I could flip it around and show it upside down, and they don't offer a tool like that to my knowledge. So tool people, if you're listening, there's an opportunity out there for you. So that's fantastic. I love what you just shared. Let's switch gears for a moment. I always like to end with something really, well, this has all been positive, but it's something really positive and fun, because I believe that we work to live and not live to work. And so what's the most fun vacation you've ever had, Jason?
I would say the one that pops in my mind as always the funnest was the first time I went to Hawaii with my parents. It was at the end of high school, and I was just getting into marine biology, which is, a whole different conversation, but my bachelor's degree is in marine biology. I was going that direction, really into it. Went there, was able to snorkel and be in the water a lot and have fun. And, that was a great memory and something different for our family than just camping locally. And so, that was fun for sure.
Love that. That sounds like a ton of fun. Jason, thanks for being on in this very short podcast. You dropped a lot of value already. I really appreciate the investment of your time here. What's the website or social media, or when somebody sees this or hears this and they're like, I want to get in touch with that guy, what's the best place for them to reach out to you?
Super simple. Go to jasoncutter.com, JASONCUTTER.com. And that's a hub for everything I have going on, from the podcast to the book to social media to coaching program to consulting. jasoncutter.com.
I love that. And there's another little secret nugget in there. That's the hub. If you're an entrepreneur, you should have a hub.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom podcast, where business owners are making 5, 6, 7, 8 or more. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about sharing their wisdom globally and creating impact. Thanks for joining us.